In the year 2156, Earth was on the brink of destruction. For decades, humanity had been fighting against an alien species known as the Zorathians. The Zorathians were strong, fast, and had technology far beyond anything humans had ever seen. The Earth's forces, despite their best efforts, were being crushed. Cities burned, armies fell, and hope began to fade. But then, a group of scientists led by Dr. Isabella Hart came up with a plan. It was a crazy idea, something that no one had ever considered before. Dr. Hart's team believed that the key to winning the war lay in the past. They had discovered ancient DNA samples of Earth's most dangerous creatures that once ruled the planet millions of years ago. The animals that were so powerful and fierce, they had earned the title of Death World creatures. These creatures had been wiped out long before humans even appeared, but their DNA remained buried in the Earth's archives. The plan was to bring them back first. People thought it was impossible. How could animals that had been extinct for thousands of years possibly help in a war? But Dr. Hart and her team believed that the creatures' raw strength, their survival instincts, and their deadly nature could give humanity the edge they needed. After weeks of research and experimentation, they succeeded. With the help of advanced genetic technology, they began to resurrect the ancient beasts. The first creature to be brought back to life was the Tyrannosaurus rex. Standing over 20 feet tall with massive jaws, it was one of the most terrifying predators that ever walked the earth. Dr. Hart's team marveled at the sheer size and power of the T. It roared as it stepped out into the open, its massive claws tearing into the ground. But the team was not afraid. They had trained the T. Rex to follow commands and be a part of the battle. Soon, more creatures were resurrected. Mammoths, with their towering tusks and thick fur, were brought back to life. Saber-toothed tigers, with their sharp fangs and agile bodies, were unleashed from the past. These animals, once lost to time, were now ready to fight for the future of humanity. The Zorathians had no idea what was coming. When the first battle between humans and Zorathians took place, the humans' new allies made an immediate impact. The T-Rex tore through the Zorathian front lines, its jaws snapping shut around alien soldiers with deadly precision. The mammoths charged into battle, using their massive tusks to crush anything in their path. The saber-toothed tigers used their speed to dart in and out of battle, slashing at the alien invaders with their razor-sharp teeth. For the first time in years, the humans had an advantage. The Zorathians were caught off guard. They had never faced anything like this before. Their advanced weapons could not stop the sheer power of the resurrected beasts. The humans, with their new allies, fought with a strength they never knew they had. And the creatures, once part of a forgotten past, were now humanity's greatest weapon. As the war raged on, Dr. Hart watched in awe as the T-Rex led the charge in battle. It was no longer just a creature from history, it had become a symbol of humanity's survival. The mammoths stomped through enemy lines, their massive feet shaking the ground with every step. The saber-toothed tigers were unstoppable, moving like shadows in the chaos of the battlefield. The Zorathians, realizing they could not defeat the power of these ancient beasts, began to retreat. Their forces were overwhelmed. Humanity had turned the tide of the war. It was not just their technology that saved them, but their ability to reach into the past and resurrect the creatures that had once ruled the earth. The war ended with the Zorathians retreating from Earth, leaving humanity victorious. The resurrected creatures, now revered as heroes, became symbols of the strength and resilience of Earth's past. They had helped save the future. Dr. Hart's team had done what many thought was impossible. They had brought back the titans of the past and used them to protect the future of humanity. The T-Rex, the mammoths, and the saber-toothed tigers would never be forgotten. They had proven that sometimes the key to survival is not in the future, but in the strength of the past. As the humans celebrated their victory, the resurrected creatures returned to the wilderness, where they would live once again, free and wild, just as they had been millions of years ago. And humanity, with their ancient allies by their side, knew they were ready for whatever the future held. The past had returned to protect the future, and it had won. The year was 2172. Earth had been at war for years. A powerful alien race, the Corallians had invaded the planet, determined to claim it as their own. The Corallians were ruthless, with technology so advanced that humanity stood no chance against them. Their ships filled the skies, their soldiers wiped out entire cities, and their weapons destroyed anything in their path. The humans were losing. Earth's military had fought bravely, but it wasn't enough. Hope was beginning to fade. In the heart of a secret research facility, Dr. Naomi Westbrook sat in front of a massive screen, her eyes filled with frustration. She was one of the last remaining scientists working to find a way to turn the tide of the war. For years, she and her team had been studying the Corallians' tactics, their weapons, and their weaknesses. But it all seemed useless. There was no way to stop the invasion. Then, one day, an old idea resurfaced. Dr. Westbrook had once read about Earth's ancient past, about the terrifying creatures that had ruled the planet long before humans arrived. These Deathworld creatures, as they were called, were beasts that had survived on Earth's most dangerous landscapes. They had been fierce hunters, with weapons of their own, razor-sharp teeth, claws that could rip through steel, and instincts honed for survival. Could these creatures help the humans fight back? Dr. Westbrook wasn't sure, but she had nothing left to lose. She gathered a team of genetic engineers, paleontologists, and military leaders, and they set to work on an incredible plan to resurrect Earth's deadliest creatures from the past. The idea was wild. The technology was experimental. But Dr. Westbrook was desperate. Using genetic technology and DNA recovered from ancient fossils, they began the process of bringing these creatures back to life. It was a challenge. The creatures were not just large. They were designed to survive in the harshest environments. Yet, if they could be revived and trained, they might just be the weapon humanity needed. The first creature to be brought back was the giant mammoth. With its thick, shaggy fur and massive tusks, it was a creature built to survive the coldest climates. It was fierce, strong, and nearly unstoppable. But they didn't stop there. Soon, they resurrected the saber-toothed tiger, a fast and powerful predator that had once ruled the Earth's forests. Next came the giant sloth, its massive claws ready to tear through anything in its path. And finally, they brought back the most feared creature of all, the Tyrannosaurus rex. This massive predator, with its powerful jaws and towering frame, had once been the king of the dinosaurs. The team trained the creatures, teaching them to follow commands and fight alongside human soldiers. It was a delicate process, but the creatures were quick to learn. They had instincts that couldn't be ignored, and soon they were ready for battle. When the Corallians launched their next assault on Earth, they were met with an unexpected force. The humans had not only their military left, they had an army of beasts from the past resurrected to fight. The first clash took place in the ruins of a once great city. The Corallians were confident they would win. But when they saw the T-Rex charging toward them, their confidence quickly turned to fear. The massive dinosaur tore through the alien soldiers, its jaws snapping shut with terrifying speed. The Corallians fired their weapons, but nothing seemed to stop the creature. It was like fighting a living nightmare. At the same time, the mammoths charged through the battlefield, their massive tusks impaling anything in their path. The saber-toothed tigers moved like shadows, their razor-sharp teeth cutting through Corallian armor with ease. The giant sloths, though slower, were no less dangerous, their powerful claws crushing anything that came too close. The Corallians had never seen anything like it. They had underestimated the power of the Deathworld creatures. They had no idea that Earth's past could rise up and fight back. Asa the battle raged on. Dr. Westbrook watched from her command center, her heart pounding. It was working. The creatures, once extinct, were now the ones leading the charge. They were fighting for Earth, for humanity's survival, and they were winning. The Corallians, realizing that they were losing the battle, began to retreat. They had no defense against the creatures from Earth's past. The mighty T-Rex, the mammoths, and the saber-toothed tigers had turned the tide of the war. And as the Corallians fled, humanity's forces followed, pushing the invaders off the planet once and for all. In the aftermath of the battle, Earth celebrated its victory. The Deathworld creatures were hailed as heroes. They had come from the past, but they had saved the future. Humanity had fought back not with advanced technology, but with the primal power of nature itself. Dr. Westbrook stood before a massive crowd, her heart swelling with pride. She had been part of a team that had brought back the most dangerous creatures ever to walk the earth. And together, they had defeated an alien invader. The Corallians had learned a hard lesson. Never underestimate the strength of Earth's past, for it could rise up at any moment. And as the mammoths, T-Rex, and saber-toothed tigers returned to the wild, the humans knew that they had not only won the war, but had also forged a bond with Earth's ancient creatures. The past had come back to protect the future, and it had taken its revenge. In the year 2003, Earth was on the verge of being destroyed. The galaxy had seen the rise of a ruthless alien empire known as the Exilor. They were a war-hungry species, and their goal was simple: to conquer every planet they could find. With advanced technology and a massive fleet, the Exilor had wiped out countless civilizations. Earth was next. Despite humanity's best efforts, Earth's defenses couldn't withstand the constant bombardment from the Exilor ships. Cities were falling, and the human race was on the brink of extinction. Dr. Elena Grayson, a brilliant scientist and military strategist, watched the destruction from her command center. The situation was dire. The Exilor were relentless, and humanity's last hope was running out. There was no time left for conventional weapons, no more time for new inventions. Desperation had taken over. Then, one day, a forgotten idea surfaced. In the archives of Earth's ancient history, Dr. Grayson discovered something incredible. Long before humans had ruled the planet, Earth had been home to creatures so deadly they were known as Deathworld animals. These beasts were the kings and queens of their time, creatures that had survived against all odds. Mammoths with enormous tusks, saber-toothed tigers with terrifying fangs, and giant reptiles like the Tyrannosaurus rex. These creatures were once Earth's true warriors, and they had ruled the planet before humanity even existed. Dr. Grayson had an idea. What if she could bring them back? It was a radical plan, but there was no other choice. Using the most advanced genetic technology, Dr. Grayson and her team began the process of resurrecting Earth's deadliest creatures. They recovered DNA samples from ancient fossils and began to recreate the beasts of the past. The project was risky. They had no guarantees that these creatures would even survive, let alone fight. But time was running out, and the humans had no other choice. The first animal to be brought back was the mammoth. The mammoth, with its massive size and thick fur, was a powerful creature that had once roamed the icy tundras of Earth. It had the strength to crush anything in its path. The mammoth was followed by the saber-toothed tiger, fast, agile, and deadly. Then came the giant sloth, a lumbering beast with claws so sharp they could tear through metal. Finally, Dr. Grayson's team resurrected the mighty Tyrannosaurus rex, a creature so powerful, so terrifying, it had once ruled the Earth as the apex predator. The creatures were a force unlike anything humanity had ever seen. They were not just animals, they were warriors, forged by Earth itself. Dr. Grayson and her team trained them, teaching them to fight alongside humans. They were fierce, loyal, and unstoppable. When the Exilor fleet arrived to attack Earth, they had no idea what was waiting for them. The first wave of Exilor soldiers landed in the ruins of a major city. They were confident. They had never faced anything like the humans, and their weapons were far more advanced. But they had never seen creatures like the mammoth or the T-Rex. As the Exilor soldiers advanced, the ground began to shake. Out of the shadows, the massive mammoths appeared. With a thunderous roar, they charged forward, their enormous tusks tearing through the Exilor ranks. The Exilor soldiers fired their weapons, but the mammoths were unstoppable. Their thick skin and immense strength made them nearly invulnerable. The Exilor's advanced weapons did little to slow them down. At the same time, the saber-toothed tigers moved through the chaos, striking fast and silent. They leapt from the shadows, their sharp fangs sinking into the Exilor soldiers with deadly precision. The tigers were like ghosts, appearing and disappearing in the blink of an eye, leaving behind a trail of destruction. Then, the ground trembled again. The Tyrannosaurus rex emerged, its massive form towering over the battlefield. Its roar echoed through the city as it charged into the heart of the Exilor forces. The alien soldiers tried to stop it. Rex's thick hide and crushing jaws. The creature's massive tail swung through the air, knocking soldiers and buildings aside with terrifying force. The giant sloth followed, its enormous claws swiping through the air, cutting through anything in its path. Though slow, the sloth was a force to be reckoned with, its size and power making it nearly impossible to defeat. The Exilor soldiers, who had once been so sure of their victory, began to retreat. They had never faced creatures like this before. The Deathworld warriors, brought back to life, were too powerful. The Exilor realized they were fighting against the very forces of nature, and they were losing. As the battle continued, the humans fought alongside their resurrected warriors, taking back their cities and pushing the Exilor forces into retreat. For the first time in years, humanity had hope. The Deathworld animals had turned the tide of the war. The creatures that had once ruled the earth now fought to protect it. By the end of the battle, the Exilor had been defeated. Their fleet was destroyed, and their soldiers were scattered. Humanity had won, but it was not just the humans who had claimed victory. The Deathworld creatures had fought and conquered with them, proving that the planet's past could still shape its future. Dr. Grayson stood in the command center, watching the final battle unfold on her screen. She had seen the humans, with their technology and willpower, fight for Earth. But it was the resurrected beasts that had truly saved the day. Earth's last warriors had come from the past, and they had protected the future. As the last of the Exilor forces retreated, the mammoths, saber-toothed tigers, and T-Rex returned to the wild. They had fulfilled their purpose. Earth was safe. And for the humans, the lesson was clear. Sometimes, the greatest warriors are not from the future, but from the past. In the year 2250, Earth was facing its darkest days. The planet had long been in peace, but that peace was shattered when an alien race called the Vrex arrived. The Vrex were cruel conquerors, with weapons that could destroy entire cities in seconds. Their ships filled the sky, and their soldiers landed across the earth, claiming territory with terrifying speed. Humanity fought back with everything it had, but their weapons were no match for the Vrex's advanced technology. Dr. Marcus Aiden, a scientist working in Earth's top military lab, watched the destruction unfold. He'd always been fascinated by Earth's ancient history, how once the planet had been ruled by deadly creatures. But these creatures were long gone, wiped out millions of years ago, or so everyone thought. What if they could be brought back? What if the key to saving humanity was in the past? In secret, Dr. Aiden began to study ancient fossils, hoping to find a way to resurrect Earth's most dangerous animals. He had read stories of creatures so powerful they had ruled the planet, creatures like the giant T-Rex, the saber-toothed tiger, and the mammoth. Could they still exist? Could their strength and power be the key to Earth's survival? It was a long shot, but it was all he had. For months, Dr. Aiden and his team worked day and night. They used the most advanced genetic technology available, analyzing the DNA of extinct animals preserved in ancient amber and fossils. Slowly, they began to recreate the creatures. The first to be brought back was the massive mammoth. With its towering tusks and thick fur, it was a reminder of a time when Earth was wild and untamed. Next, the saber-toothed tiger was resurrected. Its sleek body and razor-sharp fangs made it a predator like no other. Then came the giant sloth, a lumbering beast with claws so powerful they could tear through steel. Finally, the most terrifying of all, the Tyrannosaurus Rex. This massive predator had once ruled the earth, and now it was returning to take its place as humanity's last hope. The creatures were massive, fierce, and ready to fight. But before they could be unleashed, Dr. Aiden had to train them. He worked with his team to teach the animals to follow commands, to fight alongside human soldiers, and to understand that they were no longer the rulers of the earth. They were protectors, warriors for humanity's survival. The day came when the Vrek army launched their final assault. The cities were in ruins, and humanity was on the verge of extinction. The Vreks landed their forces in the heart of a once thriving metropolis. They had no idea what was about to happen. The ground shook as the first of the resurrected beasts emerged from the lab. The massive mammoth, its tusks glinting in the sunlight, charged forward, knocking Vrek soldiers aside with ease. The Vreks fired their weapons, but the mammoth's thick hide was nearly invulnerable. It charged through the enemy lines, its strength unstoppable. As the mammoth rampaged through the battlefield, the saber-toothed tiger leapt into the fray. It moved like lightning, darting between the Vrek soldiers and slashing at them with its powerful claws. The Vreks tried to shoot, but the tiger was too fast, its movements a blur. It was a predator, and the battlefield was its hunting ground. Then, the ground trembled again. The Tyrannosaurus Rex appeared, its massive body casting a shadow over the battlefield. Its roar echoed across the city as it charged toward the Vrek forces, its jaws snapping shut with terrifying force. The Vreks tried to stop it, but their weapons were no match for the T-Rex's strength. With a single swipe of its tail, it sent dozens of Vrek soldiers flying. The giant sloth, though slower, was no less deadly. It moved forward, its enormous claws tearing through the Vrek soldiers and their machines. The Vreks tried to surround it, but the sloth's size and strength were too much to handle. With each swipe of its claws, it cleared the battlefield of enemies. The Vreks, who had once thought of Earth as easy prey, were now facing the full fury of nature itself. They had never encountered creatures like this before, beasts that had been lost to time, now resurrected to protect the planet. The Vreks' weapons couldn't stop the fury of the animals, and their soldiers were no match for the primal power of the resurrected beasts. As the battle raged on, Dr. Aiden watched from his command center, his heart pounding. The creatures had done it. They were taking back the Earth. The Vreks were retreating, unable to handle the might of the ancient beasts. The humans, fighting alongside their prehistoric allies, were winning. The battle ended with the Vreks retreating into space. They had underestimated Earth's power and were forced to leave. Humanity had won, but it wasn't just the humans who had saved the day. The resurrected creatures had played a key role in the victory. The ancient beasts had returned to fight for the future of Earth, and they had triumphed. Dr. Aiden stood outside, watching as the mammoths, saber-toothed tigers, and the T-Rex returned to the wilderness. They had come back to protect the planet. Earth's past had come alive to secure its future. The battle was over, and humanity had survived thanks to the beasts that reawakened from the depths of history. As the sun set over the battlefield, Dr. Aiden knew one thing for sure: sometimes the greatest warriors are not from the future. They come from the past, waiting for the moment when they are needed most. The beasts had reawakened, and they had saved the Earth.